on, Jesse.
Hey there, Jesse Moore, Pickett Street Properties.
Dennis Pierce, Pickett Street.
So we want to talk today, as part of the short sale process, most people find that they electively decide to stop paying a few things, like their mortgage.
Right. And what that means is you've made a choice. You're preparing to move into a short sale. And so if you're going to do it, we'd like you to do it in the way that has the most chance of success.
Right. We want to do it strategically. We kind of want to help you decide what are absolutely mandatory things that you have to continue to pay for, and what things you may electively just decide not to pay for.
Right. So typically the biggest part of any mortgage, of course, is the mortgage. There are typically many other things that go into it, though. You're going to have homeowner dues. Some folks may have a second. That may be a purchase money second. That may be a HELOC. That may be, there's a number of different scenarios you may have used for that second, the reason you have it. And then of course, there's utilities.
And taxes and insurance. And so there's a lot of things. The biggest of those is your mortgage. And so you may decide to stop paying your mortgage, and that will alleviate most of your monthly expense. And you won't hear it from us. We're not going to be the ones to tell you to stop paying your mortgage. But if you decide to do that, then that can free up a lot of capital. The other items, though, some of those you can't. Some of those, if you decide to stop paying those, will absolutely be a detriment to you getting a successful short sale closing.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to talk about today. What are the things that you have to pay, or you should continue to pay, if you want to successfully short sale your home? And I would say, by far and away, the number one thing, the most critical thing that you continue to pay for are HOA dues.
Yeah.
So if you own a condo or a townhome or a single family residence that's subject to HOA dues, please do continue to pay those. Primarily because the bank has, time and time again, the bank will say that we are not going to pay HOA dues or a balance, any sort of HOA balance. And they'll pay for a lot of things. They pay for most of the expenses related to the short sale experience. But the one thing that, when it comes down to the wire, we don't want $1,000 or $2,000 in HOA dues keeping you from foreclosure.
Right.
And so the one thing that you should pay for is, if your property is subject to HOA dues, continue to pay those.
Right. Next item being, we want you to also, in most cases, and this again, I think the critical point here is, this is going to be a case by case. So we really want to have a conversation around all of this. That we need to have a strategy that encompasses the whole program. But the second item that we would typically recommend that you not stop paying on is your second. So if you have a second, a HELOC, etc., we need to have a conversation around that before you elect to stop making payments on it.
We talked about this in another video, and that is basically, you can elect to stop paying your second. Just don't let it get more than 120 days out. So you can decide to stop paying it for 2 to 3 months, but after that you're going to want to resume those payments to stay out of collections and out of recovery, is what they call it.
Right.
The other thing that you're going to want to consider is utilities. If you live there, obviously it's to your benefit to continue to pay for utilities.
Right.
If you vacated the property,
especially if you live in the northern latitudes.
Right, and right now we're in the northwest, and it's not super warm out, but it's not super cold out.
We haven't had a good solid freeze yet this year.
But we get cold snaps, and when that happens, not having the utilities on or having a property winterized can make a bad situation worse. So we do recommend that you pay utilities. We can sometimes get the bank, far more easily than HOA dues, we can sometimes get the bank to pay for the utility balance. But really, we just want to, our goal is to get this house out of your name and get a foreclosure off your record. And the best way to do that is continue to pay your HOA dues, continue to pay your utilities. The other item I would strongly recommend that you continue to pay is your insurance. You don't want something, you are still responsible for that property. You do have a contract with the bank saying that you will maintain insurance on the property. If something were to happen to the property while you were in the short sale process or no longer live there, and you let insurance lapse, that could come back to you.
The bank could come back on you for that.
In a big way. And so notify your insurance company and let them know that the property is vacant, if it is vacant. And go ahead and, I know there's a cost associated with that, but the cost, if the worst possible thing happens, the cost associated with that is far greater than the sunk cost of paying for insurance.
Right.
So.
I think the only other thing I might add on here is, and this is a conversation for maybe another time to go into more depth, but some folks elect to rent out a property when they're going into short sale, and figuring it's a way to just maintain at least a little bit of cash to cover that mortgage. And that's something we need to discuss, I think, at a future date.
Well, maybe we'll talk about early occupancy on a short sale process, and maybe that's the way to go. So,
absolutely.
Anyway, if you're thinking about short selling, there are things that you can elect to not pay for, but please do maintain your HOA dues. Don't let the HOA lean against your property. It just adds to the misery of the short sale experience. Continue to pay your utilities, especially if you live in the home. Plus, you know what? We do have a couple properties where the utilities are off, and the property can probably only be shown about 8 hours of the day, maybe.
Oh, that if you're lucky.
6 hours of the day.
Yeah.
From about 9 to 3, they can see the house. But people, if they come at 5 o'clock, it's too dark to see the.
It's dark. It's cold. It's inhospitable.
Right.
So the chances of a sale go diminishing significantly.
So pay your HOA, pay your utilities, pay your insurance, and we're signing off.
Thanks.